Well, welcome back to a overcast and seriously chilly day in Arizona. It was like 34 degrees when I got up, and it's still only about 37 or 38, and it is 8:55 in the morning. And I hate to admit it, but I have reached the point in my life where I hate working on my daily driver. I really do, and I shouldn't, but I do. And in the next few years, I may have to get a daily driver I don't have to work on anymore. But for right now, I do. I have a coolant leak on this. It's either the lower hose or the water pump. And I checked on Amazon because that's where I typically buy parts. And it has been 6 years since I bought the last set of hoses for this. And I'm telling you, pushing hoses past 5 years here in the desert, you're begging for something to go wrong. So I bought upper and lower radiator hoses, heater hoses, a belt, because I did the belt at the same time, and that's the same thing about the belt. 5 years is really all you're going to get out of them. And I bought the belt, and I bought a water pump just in case. And of course, I bought coolant down at Walmart. So that's my job for the morning. I got to go put a long sleeve shirt on. It is cold. So when I did this lower radiator hose the last time, I had the whole front of the engine torn apart because I was doing the water pump. And don't know if you can see it down in there. That's the clamp right down. I can't even get the camera, the light, and my finger right down in there. You can see the hose clamp to it. Obviously, I'm not going down from this way. I might be able to go back in under there, but to do that, I'm probably going to have to pull the air box out. All right, with the air box out of there, it actually doesn't seem too bad. There it is right there. I can get a screwdriver in to get to that lower hose. Don't know if you can see it down there, but when I put a tool on that clamp, that wasn't even tight. And the second I loosened it, the second I touched it, more started gushing out. So that's my problem. That's my coolant leak. All this drama just for that hose. So here's something worthy of note. This lower hose, note that this old one that's coming out, I don't think there's really anything wrong with it other than the clamp had wormed its way a little loose over time. Probably could have stopped the leak by tightening the clamp, but considering what I had to go to get to it, there's no way I'm not going to put a new hose in. This is Daco. New ones are Gates. Look at the difference in the length of them. And maybe I shortened the Daco. I don't know. I don't honestly remember. But the Gates also has a much longer protective sleeve. Don't know that that's necessary. But yeah, quite a bit difference between the two. So I got that lower belt on, and it wasn't too big of a struggle. There's a bit of a kink. I'm hoping you can see where my hands are. There's a bit of a kink right in this bend here, because this hose is slightly longer than the other one. Maybe I shortened that other one. I can't remember. But it's not a huge kink. It's just slightly. And I'm also wondering if that belt really isn't the correct length. And because these old motor mounts are letting the engine settle, and that motor mount could easily be letting that engine settle ½ inch or more on this side, and probably on the other side as well. And if I replace the motor mounts, that belt might be the correct length. But anyway, it's all the way on there now. Don't know if you can see that top hose where it connects down there, but that's how the clamp has to be oriented. And then you come in right in there from the back to tighten it. And that bottom one, you got to have a ratchet with a socket on it, because it's right up above a metal shelf, and you're not going to get a screwdriver or even a nut driver on it. A couple of things I think worthy of note here. One is this cooling system really needs to be flushed badly, and I would have rather have done that with the old hoses on, but that didn't happen. And you can see I've been having a leak back here. That didn't happen, so we're going to have to be doing it with the new hoses on. You can see some of the debris that came off of it. Another thing is these types of clamps. Where's one of them? Right here. These types of clamps here I like them. I know a lot of you guys will hate them. You have to wrestle them off with a pair of pliers or something like that. But these kind of clamps will always keep the right amount of pressure on the hose. Had I had one down there, that probably wouldn't have started leaking. But the problem is, even if you have the correct tools, and I do, it's very, very difficult to operate one of these clamps down where that was, even though, of course, that it came with one of those on it originally. But if you don't have a set of these tools, go get them. They're cheap. You can use them at any angle. They'll hold the clamp open for you because they have a little locking mechanism. Both of them do. So they will hold the clamp in the open position for you. And they just make these so easy. It's just crazy. I wish I could have put one back down there, but you just can't. There's just no way to get a tool on it that I could see. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish these up now, and then I'll get the flush done. Yeah, these needed to be flushed, and I neglected it, unfortunately. Another thing worthy of note are these water neck outlets. I had a lot of corrosion built up on both of these here, and I scraped as much off as I could. And on the outside, I went around with a strip sandpaper and a butter knife and a wire brush, and I got it cleaned up as much as I can, because if you do not clean the corrosion off of these, they will leak. And all the belts and hoses are back on. That belt, I'm telling you, I didn't record me putting that belt back in because I try and keep my language as family friendly as possible, and I just can't do it when there's a serpentine belt involved. I believe I have the tension about right. Whoever designed serpentine belts, there's got to be not just a special place in hell for them, but a special hell. I've got the throttle body all cleaned up nice and pretty with seafoam and a little brush. I try and get any ridge of crap that's around where the throttle plate closes off. And you can see I still have a little tiny bit right there. I try and get any ridge of that off, because that tends to screw things up. I'll clean that up even a little bit more. All right, so I've been flushing this for a bit now, and it's finally coming out clean. I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to disconnect that and leave it open and see how much of this water I can pump out of there so I can get some coolant in it. Well, that seemed to have been fairly effective at getting some out. I'm going to pour as much of this concentrated as I can, and I'm going to call it good. Doubt I'll get the whole gallon in, but alrighty then. I believe I'm all done. I was going to clean the engine compartment up today and wash the outside, but it's so damn windy out right now, even though it isn't blowing at the moment. It's so windy out now and cold that I think I am going to wait for another day. It's been sitting and idling 15 or 20 minutes. We're completely warmed up, got pressure in it. I am not seeing any leaks underneath, and it's idling smoother. It was idling about 100 RPM too low in gear, and now it's only about 50 RPM too low in gear, so that's a definite improvement. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good news. It's day 10 of my diet, and I'm down 2 pounds, which is pretty much exactly where I wanted to be. That's about all the good news. The bad news is, after my drive yesterday, we're still leaking fluid. Gonna have to figure out what that is. Where it's coming out, I suspect it probably is the water pump. Was pretty sure it wasn't when I looked at it yesterday. So it took about a gallon to fill it back up. It did not overheat on my drive yesterday, but it's cold out. So to get the water pump out of here, you got to get the fan and the fan shroud out. To get the fan shroud out, it comes out with the fan, but the problem is, how do you get to the fan bolts when you have hands my size? It's not impossible, it just is not easy. I forgot to mention, there is one other piece of good news. I replaced the parking brake mechanism on the CJ7, and I replaced it with an aftermarket one, probably Chinese made. I bought it off eBay for 55 bucks. Brand spanking new, the entire assembly. I didn't, make a video of it because it took like half hour to do. And these things are held in with 2 nuts and a bolt, and they're all three are very easy to get to. You pull them out, the thing drops out on the floor. The hardest part is getting the cable, getting enough slack in the parking brake cable to get the end up and through there. That's kind of a chore, but that's done, and now hopefully it won't try and run me down again or go walkabout on me. Okay, fan shroud, fan, and water pump pulley are off. Let's see if we can see, and it's still dripping out of there. Let's see if we can see where it's coming from. Getting that out isn't as bad as I make it out to be. You pull the rubber strip off, you pull all the bolts out of it. You just give you enough wiggle room here. And then you got to go down and around the fan shroud and take these nuts off. And they're 1/2 inch. Yay, everything else is metric except these are 1/2 inch. And you can only get the tips of your fingers on it like you're some femme fatale from a 1940s detective mystery holding a cigarette in your fingers. And it comes out. I mean, so let's take a look and see what we got to pull to get this water pump off of here. Let's get the belt out of the way. And the belt's easy to do when the fan and fan shroud isn't in the way. So looking at this water pump, it goes on like in this position here. So all of the bolts look accessible, with the possible exception of the ones that go behind this plate. Now this plate holds the power steering and this lower idler adjuster, so that's going to have to come out to let the water pump come out, and this might be in the way. And to be honest with you, I think I'm going to pull both of these idlers and put new bearings in them, because why not? I mean, it's easy to do now, and with my luck I'd do all this and a week later I'd need a bearing in one of those. What else am I going to do? Might as well do the thermostat while I have it at this point too, because I don't know. Yeah, I might do the thermostat as well. Anyway, let's get this off of here so we can get the power, so we can get the water pump off. Okay, I believe I have this water pump ready to come out. Things worthy of note. There's only 4 bolts holding the water pump in. One is longer than the others. It's this one down here. There's 1, 2, there's one here, and there's one all the way down underneath. This bracket here, you have to at least loosen up that much. There's 3 bolts going into the power steering pump. There's 2 bolts that go into the water pump itself. And then there's a bolt, don't know if you can see my pointy finger. There's a single bolt going in there, and you can reach it from on top. I went around underneath to loosen it, and I loosened it to see if I could just leave it loose and get this out, and I wound up pulling it. It's easy to get to, it's not a big deal. So now if you take your favorite whacking tool, and this is my current favorite whacking tool, I should be able to give that a whack, and that should come out of there. And there it is. Okay. Oh, that's lovely looking, isn't it? So here is my problem. Either the gasket was leaking or it was coming out of the overflow, and I don't really care which at this point. Now I got to clean it up. I want to order a new one of these pipes because I don't even want to fart around with that because it's all corroded away. Don't know if you can see it, sun's shining on everything. And I really would have liked to have run flush through this system before I replaced the water pump, but it was leaking so bad there was no way it was going to really do anything. So scrape that old gasket off, clean up around there. Look at that. Jeez, look at that timing. Those timing marks covered with crap. Okay, I'm going to go inside. I've got the pump. I don't have that pipe. Going to do the thermostat while I'm here, and I'm going to order both of those bearings for the idlers. And I may end this one for here since I don't have all the parts to finish it. It's probably going to take me, I don't know, if Amazon has them, I might have them in a few days. But in some way, I'd rather just end the video and start it over for the reassembly. Anyway, if I do decide to end it here, thanks for watching.